What are we gonna do when we get back? What are we gonna do when we...
Hi, I'm Dominic Esposito, your drill instructor. On this episode of Drill Instructor TV, in the Boot Camp Pool Academy, we're going to look at braking. We're going to look at all the skills of braking. We're going to talk about stance, stroke, actual strategies of different breaks. We're going to have some fun. I'm going to work from the ground up with you so you have a real fresh look at just the way to build your break stroke. If we start from the ground up, the end result is going to be actually hitting the break shots. So I want to put this in perspective for you. If you have the boot camp training book and DVD, there is an entire section in there on the 10 do's and the 10 don'ts of braking. I'm going to cover a few of those, but of course, with your boot camp book and DVD, you have all the exact top 10 list of all the do's and all the don'ts. Some of the most critical ones I want to be sure to start with is what's going on with the base of your body. You know, just like any good building, if you don't have a great strong foundation to start with, your building's probably going to wobble and collapse at some point when you're in the middle of the night sleeping. You don't need to get caught off guard like that. Now, I do see many times there are people who break with this big pyramid stance, and this is extremely difficult because you can do nothing to transfer body, weight, momentum, and it's really not balanced. All you're doing is putting pressure points on the outer parts of your feet, and you're really just settled in and just locked down, and there's really nothing to that. I do see a lot of players who get to the point here where they're leaning forward. They could even be on the rail like this, leaning forward, and there's even some that are leaning backwards. All of those I completely object. They're not good to do, so don't even do those. I want to be sure that you don't get caught up in this little squatting mode type of a stance here. This is really not great. It's going to cause you too many times to be jumping up in the air. Here's a real good suggestion. Once your back foot is braced and your foot is off to the side, I'm really not quite 45 degrees. I'm at really about 40 degrees from straight ahead, off to the side. This is the position that my feet are spread. Now, you're going to find the point where you're comfortable, but what's important is we have to decide what type of a break we're using, what type of a break shot, because it is a break shot. It's actually the single most important shot of the game to start with because it starts the game. And so in this case here, I want you to make a decision that you're going to be strong. I'd like to suggest you lock the back leg, bend the front leg forward. If you lock the back leg, bend the front leg forward, you're going to be able to launch off the heel. By locking the back leg and pressing the front leg, now this front leg is basically vertical. It's not leaned past it, and it's not behind it. It's vertical. Because from the launch of the heel is what I push off of. If you've ever watched a fighter, when they throw a good punch, it doesn't just start from here, it ends here. It starts from here, right in the heel. And that's what I want you to understand. As you launch from here, there's a jerk in the hips, there's a movement, and there's a release, and there's a snap. There's a snap. So when we put this whole thing together from here, we're going to move. It's not just only the arm and nothing else moves. And this is a lot of the reason why so many players say, oh, I just don't really have a powerful break. You don't have to be a macho person with gigantic muscles in order to have a good break. You just need technique. A good technique. Any good golfer will tell you it's not a matter of how big and brawny and strong and how hard you can hit a ball to make a golf ball go far. They'll tell you it's all about technique and tempo. And this is the same thing we actually put into our break shot. So think technique and tempo. Technique and tempo. Technique and tempo. This is key. And when you have technique and tempo, you will have a powerful break without having to be a great big gigantic person, because technique and tempo will create the result you're looking for. Okay? Now, so from the base of the bottom, I want to recommend your back leg is locked, it's vertical up, your front leg is bent, it's vertical up, and when your first movement, when you come back and your hand is all the way back, as you come in to your break stroke, there's an actual press off into the heel. The heel presses, not the toe, the heel, not the toe, the heel. You get that? You'll thrust from off the heel because the heel is what's connected to the leg. From there, it's into the hip. From into the hip, it's coming up from the tight gut, tight gut. By the way, it's another mistake I have so many players they make. Your gut is a limpy, flappy. It doesn't make a big difference if you're a little big in the gut. The point is, at the time you stroke to hit that ball, flex that gut, tight like a rock. Flex the gut. Now, we're down, we breathe. We get in position. When that hand comes back, as I start to come through, I can feel that. I can feel that heel just going straight through the ground. And I can feel it driving everything off the top. So that by the time I come in, watch my back hand. Look at this. Alex, tighten the camera in on my back hand. I want you to see this. That's it. Bring it in. Tighten it in. Good. Watch this. See what's happening here? Watch. Snap. There's an actual snap. I'm doing this. You see the fingers? Look, I'm going to run this in slow motion for you. Snap. So from here, when I come in, I snap. Now look, I know I did something a little fancy to my cue. Just stay right there, Alex. I'm going to show them this, okay? Come on, back in here. Get in here. Good, good. Okay, I have a nice little sport grip on here, okay? But I actually, it's a sport grip, but I roll it back and I have a little nub right there in the end of that. You see that? Because when I lock my hand in there, first of all, I know that's where I want my hand, exactly when I break. Some people are back here, some people are up here. The point is, when you find that spot where you want to be, I'm actually using that as a rush. I'm pressing into that, and by pressing into that, my hand's not going to slip. So I have a whip, that hand whips, and as it whips me into that hit post. Now, you don't have to do that. I do that because I love that on my personal cue. So if you're looking at it, you can see it. Yeah, that's really cool, but that's not the point. If you want to try that, great. When you see me, try mine or go try one of your own. But the idea is, if you got something, a little donut ring on there, that gives you a chance to just ran right into that. Oh boy, we got some power. Okay, so we'll take that. Next thing I want to talk about is, I need to talk about the break stroke. The break stroke is level. The break stroke is level. It doesn't go up in the air. It doesn't fly up in the air. It's level all the way through the cue ball. So I want you to kind of imagine me doing something like this. This is my battering ram. And I've got a door right here, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to batter ram this door down, okay? So does it make sense if I go like this and then hit the door up in the air? No. Does it make sense if I run into the door and I go, ooh, and I go like that? Of course not. We're not going to batter ram a door open. You're going to think I'm a nut. Here's the deal. I want to batter ram the door down. I want to batter ram the door. I do the same thing to the cue ball. I batter ram the cue ball. Batter ram the cue ball. One of the keys to the secrets of why you think who so-and-so has the best break is because they're batter ramming the cue ball. Now, I want to also dispel a couple of things about the stroke that they are not the drill instructor way, and I can tell you more faults with them than I'm going to waste your time right now with. But when you get down on a stroke and you start doing all this bend your cue and all this other, this is nuts. Okay, it looks good for the camera, it takes good pictures, but it's just terrible for the quality of your break shot. Because here's the problem. When you do all this bending up to break, what you're technically doing is, remember the batter ramming guy? You're slapping down. All you're doing is slapping down at the cue ball. Here's a large version of that. Just kind of picture this big, gigantic ball right here. And my stroke is doing this and going, yeah, because I'm going, yeah, like this. That's not a break stroke. And it's certainly not a break shot. Oh, yeah, you'll hit the balls and Lord knows what'll happen. And you might even take a great picture. It kind of also goes along with some of this idea of having to go way up in the air and kick your leg way up in the air like you're trying to give this guy a shot in the jaw behind you. You know, the ball touches the tip of your cue for 1/10,000th of a second. That's it. 1/10,000th of a second. So before you're doing all of this la-la dancing, that ball's gone. Everything that mattered to that ball happened from here to here. Everything else after it is beside the point. Now, batter-ram the stroke. And by the way, you guys who are taking off on 747s up in the air, you're the guy who's batter-ramming the door up in the air. You're either spiking up at the ball or spiking down at the ball, and none of that is going to drive the ball. And this is a lot of why you're putting expended energy into your physical stroke, and you're getting probably 60% of the effort is really impacting the cue ball. Why? Because the other 40% got dissipated with all of your gymnastics and theatrics. And that's the truth. And that's the drill instructor way. So, bottom is steady and stable. That's my foundation. On the top, I'm going to level the stroke. Now, my break stroke is probably the only time you will ever see, a regular shot stroke, my elbow never moves. But with a break stroke, that might be the only time you might see the elbow go. However, the cue is remaining level, and that's the reason why. The cue is batter-ramming through. In fact, let me tell you something. Psychologically, I'm actually, first of all, I put the ball all the way up to the line. Now, I want that ball as close to the rack as I can get it. And so that's the legal limit for me. I put it right here from center, and I put it a half a diamond off to the left or to the right. And that's where I want to start from for practicing my break stroke, practicing my break shot, just to start, until we get into specific positions of the cue ball to create specific outcomes of the rack based on the game that I'm playing, okay? Now, in this regard, my hand is back here, level. Hey, when a golfer walks up to the golf ball, have you ever seen them take a practice stroke? There's no reason a pool player can't take a practice stroke. Now, I know a lot of times they think this pre-stroking is like a... No. That's not the practice stroke. A practice stroke is actually doing it. Now, here's what my break stroke is going to look like, okay? I'm going to come back, slow motion for you. Through, snap, push, through. And I'm actually through here, right through the joint of my cue already. And I am trying to hit the head ball with the tip of my stick. You notice my stick hasn't even touched the table yet. Because I'm driving the cue ball, I'm driving my cue tip and the shaft straight into the head of the rack of the balls. Now let's start to look at some of this in how it's going to look for you. A couple of extra points I want to talk about with regard to what's going on with your back arm too, okay? I know a lot of players, they think they have to hold the very end of the break butt of the cue, and the problem I'm going to have with this is not so much if you're back or you're mid or you're way up front. That's not the main issue. The main issue is where are you in relation to the time the tip of your cue actually strikes the ball. And this is what I need you to see. So I'm going to just leave the cue ball here so I can see it's in camera. Okay? And then I'm going to put the tip of my cue right on the ball. So there, it's actually touching. Okay? Now, what I see some players do is they're here. Now look at how my arm is actually not, this is vertical, but it's way back here. At this point, I lose a tremendous amount of power, even especially for people who don't have the real power in their muscles, or you may have some back, joint, shoulder, elbow, neck. You may have some other issues that limit you from exploding with all you can do. But the point is this: if you're back here, now you're pulling the stick. You're pulling the stick. Before you even get into optimum power, the cue ball's already gone. Look at the tip of my stick. It's already 6-7 inches past the cue ball. I haven't even begun follow through and the shot's already gone. And that's why there's so little power in your break. So you can't be back here where you're pulling at the very, very optimum position. Now, let me get right back up to the ball again, okay? At the very optimum, just let your arm hang. Hang. Once it starts holding still, reach down and grab. Now you see why my little donut is where I put it? Because it is in my optimum position. When I make contact with the cue ball, I am backstroke, contact. I make contact at dead vertical. Dead vertical. Because from this point here, crush, all the rest becomes my follow through, level through as I drive. Now, in addition to this, if I start adding some body and movement in order to accelerate speed, that's where it all comes together in a beautiful matching motion of what's going on from the heel to the hand. So from here, as I'm in position, backstroke, move, snap, crackle, pop, and drive. As a matter of fact, I'm going to just show you a full swing so you can get this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of practice strokes so you can actually see the explosion of my break shot, but I'm not really going to put all my power into it. I'm just going to put the momentum of my technique. So let's watch a few things, okay? From here, I'm in position. I'm right up to the cue ball. I know I'm checked. I feel real good right there. I come back. So this is my final backstroke. And from here, everything begins to move, snap, press, push, and drive. But it's level. Looks like this at full speed, okay? Ready? You see that? Okay, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put that in slow motion a few times. And I want you to look at a few things. I want you to look at the level of the cue. I want you to look at the timing of the movement of the body. And I want you to look at the direct and the expression of everything. Now, you don't have to put all that into it. You can do this. My body didn't even move. But the technique of the top of my body is perfectly right. Even that alone, which could represent 99% of all the people who don't have power in a break. This alone, just this technique, is going to give you great results. Time out right there. Just hold it. This episode needs to be continued to the next week because I've got a lot more material I want us to cover and I don't want to be rushing it for you. So, I'll see you on the next episode for part 2.
best in battalion is a passing on by. The best in battalion